Mic check, mic check. Shalom, Israel. All praise to the Most High. We back at it again. I don't even remember. Was it last week? We wasn't here last week, right? That's when we was in Georgia. Hey, my days be all over the place now. But but all praise to the Most High. We back at it. We back at it. Another segment of sound doctrine with myself and my brother Amatazah. Tonight we going over the Sabbath. Tonight we going over the Sabbath. Let me do something real quick. I'm gonna do it like this. Here it is. Let me do this real quick, and then we good to go. My bad, family. Just got to do something real quick. And then we rocking. Right here. It's not there. There she is. All right. Boom. There. I'll show you after class. Don't worry about it. All right. So tonight we going into the Shabbat. Like I said, the series that we got going on is through Torah. We talking about the laws. We learning. Torah literally means instructions. We're learning what it is that the Lord is instructing us to do, understanding these laws, right? So y'all already know it's sound doctrine. So I got my two opening scriptures. The first one we got is Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 2. Con, let's get that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. The Lord gave us the teachings, the understandings, the instructions that we need to make sure that we adhere to. And he said it's very simple. Forsake ye not my law. The Lord made it simple. He said, don't forsake my law. And it's crazy because nothing ever changed from the Old Testament to the New Testament, because Christ said the same thing. He was like, if you desire, in order to make it into the kingdom, what must I do? He said, very simple, keep the commandments. But go to 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 3, because here's the thing, and I say this every week. We've gotten to a space now where people, they want to play with God. They want to make excuses. They want to do what they want to do and use the Bible to justify it. But the scriptures prophesy to that, right? Go ahead, read that, 2 Timothy 4 and 3.
This book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4 and verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine.
Come on.
But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears.
Read.
And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables.
And will be turned unto fables. So there was going to come a time, and that time is now. You see all of the crazy, dirty doctrines in Israel, outside of Israel, all of these different religions, and people would turn away from the truth to receive these lies because their lusts have overtaken them. And instead of having the discipline to maintain the sound doctrine, they want to do what they want to do, right? Last scripture on this piece, go to Acts chapter 5 and verse 29. At the end of the day, despite what anyone says, despite how anyone feels, as it pertains to the Most High and what is expected of us. This is how we should always think, and this is how we should always move. Acts 5:29, read that.
The book of Acts, chapter 5, and verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
We ought to obey God rather than men. It's that simple. If your mama don't like it, if your granny don't like it, if your homeboys don't like it, if you in a congregation with brothers that don't like it and sisters that don't like it, don't matter. We ought to obey God rather than men. What does the scriptures say? If I can open this book and prove it, despite how I feel, nothing else matters. I need to make sure that I'm obeying what the Most High says. I ought to obey God rather than men. So, let's go ahead and jump into it. Tonight's lesson. Through Torah, the Sabbath. What, why, when, and how. It's crazy because a lot of people, for the most part, understand the Sabbath, at least from what they've been told, but a lot of people can't open up the Bible and show you why they do these things. A lot of people haven't read through the scriptures enough to understand the nuances of the Sabbath. Okay, we can't do this technically, but what about this? We can't do this, but what about that? And it's crazy because you don't see a lot of people really sit down to go through what is really the most pertinent part of the Bible. What is really the most pertinent thing to your salvation, in understanding the Torah and understanding the instructions that God gave us to make sure that we're living righteous, to make sure that we're living sacred according to the scriptures. So, let's start it off with Genesis chapter 2. This is the inception of the Sabbath. Genesis chapter 2. We're going to read verses 1 and 2.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2, and verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, the Most High ended his work, which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work, which he had made.
So the Lord rested, right? Verse 3.
And the Most High blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work.
Because in it he had rested from all his work, read.
Which the Most High created and made.
Which God created and made. Go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. So that is the inception of the Sabbath, right? A lot of people will sit there and say, yeah, we don't have to keep the Sabbath because that was the Mosaic law. No, that was something that was instilled from the very beginning. The Sabbath was reiterated in the book of Exodus. The Sabbath was reiterated when he came down and he spoke to Moses about these things. But the Sabbath is for you, but it's also in commemoration of what the Lord did. Watch this. Go to Exodus. Read that. Exodus 20 and 8.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
It said, remember the Sabbath day. This is a commemoration. Remember to keep the Sabbath day holy. Read. How do you do that? Read.
6 days shalt thou labor.
You got 6 days to do whatever labor, whatever work, whatever duties, whatever services that you have to do. You got 6 days to do that, right? Read.
And do all thy work.
Come on.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work.
Read.
Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughters, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates.
Why?
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth,
read,
the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day.
And the Lord rested the seventh day. Read.
Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
It says, so the Lord made this a perpetual thing from the very beginning. He said, I worked my 6 days, I rested the seventh day. I then ordained the seventh day to be a holy, set-apart day. He hallowed the seventh day, meaning to make it holy. What does the word holy mean? Holy means set apart for the service of God. That's literally the definition of holy. Set apart for the service of God. So, that's how we're supposed to keep the Sabbath day to this day. And it's so crazy because people will say that the Sabbath day we no longer have to keep the Sabbath. The Lord literally said, this is the day that is set apart for you to serve me. So essentially you're saying there is no longer a day that we need to set aside to worship the Lord. Most people are already caught up in the world. Most people are already overly distracted, which is why this was even, he said, you got 6 days to do all that other stuff. I need 1 day. And we're so self-centered and foolish. We think, well, that's done away with. At what point do you feel like God wants you to stop worshiping him? What type of sense does that even make? Go to Exodus 35. Exodus chapter 35. Let's read verse 2. I forgot about that. Exodus 35 and verse 2. You got it.
The book of Exodus, chapter 35 and verse 2. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be to you an holy day. A Sabbath of rest to the Lord.
A Sabbath of rest to who?
The Lord.
A Sabbath of rest to the Lord. It says 6 days you got to do whatever you got to do, right? Then it goes on to say, 1 second. Then it goes on to say, but on the seventh day there shall be a Sabbath to you. To you, it is the Sabbath day. What is the Sabbath day for? It says, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. This is very important, too, because a lot of people got the game twisted. Well, the Lord, the word Sabbath does mean rest. We're supposed to be resting on the seventh day. Yeah, you are supposed to be resting from all of your works, but not sleeping all day. A lot of people will take the Sabbath day. Oh, I don't want to come to class. Oh, I don't, I'll read the scriptures a little bit at the house. Some people take the Sabbath day and sit there and catch up on their marathons of Power, their marathons of Game of Thrones, the series that the series of Suits. That's not what the Sabbath, it says it is a Sabbath of rest unto the Lord. It is not the day for you to blow off. You are supposed to be resting, but it is a day that you spend time with the Most High. And it's so crazy. I've used this analogy before. Imagine you have a husband or you have a wife, right? And you guys make an agreement. Yeah, we're going to spend this day with each other. You're like, yeah, we're going to spend this day with each other. And the whole day that y'all supposed to spend together, your spouse is doing everything else. They're on the phone. They're texting. They're watching videos. They're talking to other people. And they spend no time with you on the day that you said or that you set aside for y'all to spend time together. How would you feel about that? How would y'all feel about that? I'd have set a day aside for me and my spouse to spend time together, and my spouse doing everything else but spending time with me. How would y'all feel about that? So how do you think the Most High feels about that when you say, oh, this is the day I'm supposed to spend with the Lord, but you sleep all day? But you watching your marathons all day? But you on the phone with your homegirl gossiping all day? Spilling the tea, talking about nothing productive, nothing conducive to your spirit. Is it a Sabbath of rest to the Lord? It don't sound like it. Read that from the top. Exodus 35 and 2.
6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord.
A Sabbath of rest to the Lord. A day that is holy, a day that is set aside to the Lord, right? Exodus 31 and 13. So part of the why is because it's because of the inception. The Lord rested. He made this a holy day. He hallowed this day and said, from this point forward, the seventh day is the Sabbath day. The seventh day, when all of my creation is done, I rested this day. This is the day that I took off. Now the rest of my creation does the exact same thing. Every 7 days, they spend that day with me. They rest like I did, right? But also, here's another reason why we keep the Sabbath. Exodus 31 and 13.
The book of Exodus, chapter 31 and 13.
Start at verse 12, Salakia.
Verse 12. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, my Sabbath ye shall keep.
It says, tell the children of Israel, command them and let them know. Verily means for sure, surely you're going to keep my Sabbath. You shall keep my Sabbaths, right? Read.
For it is a sign between me and you.
It's a what?
A sign between me and you.
A sign between, read on.
Throughout your generations.
Read. Now what is the sign? Read.
That ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you.
That doth sanctify you. To sanctify means to set apart, to be holy. You keeping my Sabbath day is an indication that shows that you are my holy. It's a sign. And if you decide you don't want to keep this sign, or excuse me, you decide you don't want to keep this law, then you're saying that you aren't adhering to or respecting this sign, this symbol, this representation of you being holy and sanctified to me by not keeping my holy, sanctified, set apart day. A lot of people think the Sabbath is like optional. No, the Sabbath is an indicator, one of the many indicators that shows and proves that you are the Lord's, that you do love the Lord. That is the crazy part. People hang on to the 2 great commandments that Christ spoke about. Love the Lord your God, with all your heart and all your soul. The second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself, right? I said this before. Loving God is not subjective. The way that you love the Lord is to follow his instructions, keep his Torah. One of the ways is to spend time with him. He set a day aside specifically for you to spend time with him. Imagine you saying you love someone, but you spend no time with them. When that is actually a requirement from them to prove your love. It's a sign to show that we are his. It is a sign to show that we are a part of him, that he is our God, that we are his holy children. Go to Ezekiel 20. We're going to read 10 through 12. Ezekiel 20, 10 through 12. And this never changed. This never changed. I want to get one of the prophets real quick. Ezekiel 20, we're going to read 10 through 12, then we're going to drop down.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse 10.
Come on.
Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt, and brought them into the wilderness, and I gave them my statutes.
So this is talking about the children of Israel after we left, after the Exodus. Read.
And showed them my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in them.
Come on.
Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbath.
Gave them what?
My Sabbath.
The Lord said, in addition to all the other laws I gave them my Sabbaths, which is a part of the law. Read.
To be a sign between me.
To be a what?
To be a sign between me and
them. It
them.
is a sign. It is an indication that we rock with him and that he rock with us. That we are his and he is ours. If you decide, I don't want to do that, you're literally spitting in God's face and you're saying, I don't want you to be my God. I don't want to be your child. This is one of the many ways that the Lord is like, that one has the mark. That one has the sign. What was that verse? Was that verse 12?
Verse 12, yeah. Want me to finish?
Read verse 12 from the top.
Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbath to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctified them.
Drop down to verse 19.
Verse 19, I am the Lord your God. Walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them.
Right, read.
And hallow my Sabbath.
And make my Sabbaths holy. Set apart my Sabbaths. Read.
And they shall be a sign between me and you.
There'll be a what?
A sign between me and you.
That what?
That ye may know that I am the Lord your God.
That I'm your power. In addition to it being a representation, a commemoration of the Lord's creation, it's also a sign to show that the Lord is dealing with us. The moment you decide, I don't need your instructions, I don't need your Sabbath, you know what he does? All right, cool. You turn your back on me, I'm going to turn my back on you. Like he did the northern kingdom in the book of Hosea. I'm done with them. They are no longer my people until a certain time. That's how the Lord rolls. He said, these are the rules I have established for you. You do it, and I got you. You don't, I'm gonna keep that same energy. And it's so crazy because the brother was bringing that up just a minute ago. You have the 7-day Sabbath for us every 7 days because it says 6 days you got to work, which it's so crazy. A lot of people don't even know what rest really feels like. Especially in California, the minorities, we don't know what rest feels like. Most of our people is working 7 days a week. If they rested, they not really resting because their mind is racing because they trying to figure out what did I forget, what didn't I do. And it's crazy because all of that stress, all of that anxiety, all of those things lead to many mental health issues. The Lord said, you got 6 days, and then I need you to have 1 day to recharge, recoup, and reset. So then you can start it all over again. Our people like, nah.
Mental and physical health.
Yeah, mental and physical health. But here's the thing. The Lord, the Most High knew what the hell he was doing. One, it's for him, but two, it's for you. And a lot of our people don't register that. The Lord is trying to help you be healthy. The Lord is trying to save your life by giving you 1 day to recoup and rejuvenate. And it's so crazy because the Lord did the same thing with the land. The brother was talking about it earlier, the Sabbath of the land every 7 years. The Most High knew what he was doing. The Sabbath, it is an indication of what he did in the beginning, but it's also something that was made for man. It was something that was made for us for a particular reason.
And the same thing for the land Sabbath, if you keep on utilizing not keep farming the land without giving it a Sabbath, it won't produce no more. The soil won't be no more good.
You're gonna burn out the soil.
Exactly. So it's the same way with us. If we burn ourselves out without getting that Sabbath.
And the crazy part is, you burn out the soil, right? And then what? It produced no more fruit. Yeah. You get burnt out. Guess what's gonna happen? You ain't gonna produce no more fruit. What works can you do when you burnt out? What can you help? What good are you when you're burnt out? Go to Isaiah 30. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 29. Actually, wait. Yeah, I do want that right now. Isaiah 30 and 29. So, we understand what is the Sabbath. Why do we keep the Sabbath, right? The Sabbath is the day that is set aside for us to spend time with the Most High God. It is a day that we keep in commemoration of what he did in the time of creation. It is a sign between us and the Father to show that he is ours and we are his, right? That is the what, that is the why. Let's deal with the when.
You said Isaiah 30.
Isaiah 30 and 29 first.
29, okay. The book of Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 29. Ye shall have a song as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept.
Go ahead.
And a gladness of heart as when one goeth with a pipe to come into the mountain of the Lord.
Right, so it says, you shall have a, read it from the top, Isaiah 30 and 29.
Ye shall have a song as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept.
It says, you shall have a psalm, you shall have a song in the night when the holy solemnities, the holy gatherings, the holy feasts are to be kept. Now, why did I go to this? Because depending on who you learn from, some people teach you that the Sabbath begins when the sun rises. But the Bible shows you that every day, but especially every feast day, every holy solemnity begins when the sun sets. They're kept in the evening, right? So it says when the holy solemnity is kept, but we're going to further prove that. This is just to establish that our Sabbath day begins. Because we say Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Some people say, oh, no, it's Saturday sunrise. Not according to the scripture. So first thing it says when the holy solemnity is kept at even, right? Do me a favor, go to Mark chapter 16.
Verse 1.
Salaki, hold on real quick. 16, no. We're going to drop down to verse 42.
What?
I'm sorry, Mark. Salaki, hold on. I think it's 32. Let me see. Oh, it might be 15. Salaki, hold on. I'll do this. Nah. I was just looking at it earlier. I don't know how I typed the wrong thing. Let me tell you right now. Mark. $15, excuse me, not 16. 15 and I think it's 42. 15 and 42.
15 and 42?
Yeah.
All right.
Is it 32 or 42? Let me see. 42, come on.
Okay.
15 and 42,
It's
Salaki.
the book of Mark, chapter 15 and 42. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation,
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish reading that.
that is the day before the Sabbath.
So, scripture said, now when the even was come, once the evening set in, it was the day of what?
Preparation.
Which was the day before the Sabbath. Now, why does that matter? Because when you read all through the scriptures, you see a lot of things begin at night, right? You see, your purification begins or ends at nighttime. If you lay with your wife, you're unclean till even. If your seed gets on anything and somebody touches it, they're unclean until even. Everything is you're unclean until the evening. You look at actually, let me see if we're going to get it. We're going to get it a little later, but even when you read about in Exodus 16 where it tells us we can't cook on the Sabbath day, you'll see that there was something very specific that happened where you notice, it had to have began in the evening. So we see here in Mark, it says that Joseph had to get Christ down from the cross, and it was the evening, and the preparation day was just coming in. So it showed you that the days begin in the evening, right? Do I need this? I do need that, but not for this part. Let me think. No, yeah, I'm going to get that scripture in a minute. So go to, we'll just end up hitting this scripture twice. Go to Exodus 16, because I do want to show you guys this. And then we're going to go to the PowerPoint. We're just going to hit this scripture twice, that's all. It's fine. Exodus chapter 16, I'm going to show you something. Read verse 8 first.
The book of Exodus, chapter 16 and verse 8. And Moses said, this shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full.
Bread to the full, right? Drop down to verse 11.
Verse 11. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at even you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God.
So now that became the rule, because everybody was complaining, all we got is manna, we want this, we want that. He said, all right, I'm going to start giving y'all bread in the morning, quail in the evening, right? Watch this. Drop down to verse 22.
Verse 22, and it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread to omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came unto Moses, and told Moses.
Right. Now, it said, Scripture said, every morning you would get manna. Every night or every evening you would get quail. But then on the 6th day, in the evening, they didn't get quail. They just got twice as much manna in the morning. Who can tell me why?
It's the Sabbath day.
Yeah, but why?
You can't cook.
Because you can't cook. Now, understanding how, I mean, this ain't you not just pulling up to Albertsons or Ralph's to grab you a quail. You had to defeather it. You had to slaughter it or kill it, wring its neck, whatever you want to call it. You have to do all of that before you can actually cook it. And remember, the quail came in the evening. So the quail probably pulled up at like 7 p.m. Now you got to get it all prepped because you're not just making it for you. You're making it for the house. So now you got 5 or 6 quails that you had to catch. Well, actually, Bishop Yazaquel said they about this big. So he said, man, man, you probably eat like 6 or 7 of them. So that's one person. So all of these quails, you probably got to make like 10 of them. You got to defeather them and all of that stuff. Yeah, by the time the sun is down, you still going to be cooking. So notice the scripture said, on the 6th day in the morning, on the 6th day, from when the 6th day start in the evening to the morning, you're going to have I'm going to give you twice as much manna in that morning. Now, when the evening comes in for the 7th day, you should have had already made all of your stuff before the sun went down on the day of preparation going into the Sabbath. So we see that the Sabbath day begins at sunset. And again, that's very important because some people begin to keep it Saturday when the sun rises. The problem with that is if you was running around the night before, you done already violated. You done already broke the Sabbath. Go to the PowerPoint. This is what I'll touch on now too. Now, another part of when is the Sabbath, right? You have some of our brothers that keep what's called a lunar Sabbath. You have the other half of us, it's almost split down the middle. So I'll say one half keeps the lunar Sabbath, one half keeps Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Some people will argue that, oh no, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is Roman, it's not correct, blah, 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 right? Let's look at the scriptures and see when the Sabbath is. Daniel 9 and 27 first. I want to read the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 27.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 27. Mm-hmm. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice of the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abomination.
I want to start at verse 26.
Verse 26.
Let's get a little bit of context.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
Right. So after a certain amount of time, the Messiah is going to be cut off. Read.
But not for himself.
Not for himself.
And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Right. So this is talking about this is like in a time lapse situation of Christ's death and the siege of and the siege. Right. Read on. Or the desolation, I believe. Read on.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolation are determined.
Right. Verse 27.
And he shall confirm the covenant.
He shall validate the covenant. This is talking about Christ. He will validate that covenant. Read.
With many for 1 week.
With many for a week. Read.
And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice of the oblation to cease.
It says, and in the midst of the week, he's going to cause the sacrifices and oblations to cease. Read.
For the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate.
Read.
Even unto the consummation, and the determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Right. So it said that this individual, Messiah, is going to, in the midst of the week, cause the oblations to cease. Why would the offerings and oblations now cease?
Because there is only one ultimate sacrifice.
Which is Christ. So there is no need for oblations anymore. But it said that he would do this in the midst of the week. What does that mean? But on that time, what would happen?
That's when it's going to be set. That last time.
That's when he would have. That's when he would have died. He died approximately. He died in the middle of the week. Approximately, I think it was 3 or 4 p.m. And he was buried right before the sun went down, in the midst of the week. Right? That's very important to consider. And then now we're going to see why. Mark 14. And actually, we can get straight to the point. So Christ died in the midst of the week, right? That's Wednesday or Thursday, right? Somewhere around Wednesday, Thursday? Yes, no, maybe so? Okay. Now watch this. Now watch this. We're going to go back to that Mark scripture, Mark 14. Let's read verse, I'm sorry, not 14, 15, Salakia, I'm sorry. Mark 15. And let's read verse 42.
The book of Mark, chapter 15 and verse 42. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath.
When is the day before the Sabbath?
Friday. No, Thursday.
Well, let me ask you a better question. When does the day before the Sabbath start? Thursday evening. So it said, when did it say Christ would die? Not what it said in the midst of the week. In the middle, in the midst of the week. So now, if you do the calculations, remember they kept the Passover the night before. That would have been Wednesday night. He was taken Wednesday night. He was up all night. That's when they was trying to figure out what they wanted to do with him. Then the sun came up. They took him to Pontius Pilate. This is now Thursday. Still technically in the midst of the week. It's Thursday. He's beaten, told to drag his cross. He's hung. He dies around 4 p.m. It's still Thursday. Joseph of Arimathea gets him off of that cross before the day, well, as the day of preparation is coming in. That's Thursday night. Right? Now, why is this important? Because for those that keep what's called a lunar Sabbath, their Passover would fall on a 7-day Sabbath. It is impossible for you to have any Sabbath, because remember, they just kept the Passover. If you read this story in context, they had just kept the Passover. That means they would have been keeping their 7-day Sabbath when Christ was getting beat. So the question would be, well, this very next day was the day of preparation. You read about the day of preparation in Exodus 16. It is the day before the Sabbath. Now the question is, if you keep the lunar Sabbath, your 7-day Sabbath is the same day as Passover. So what is this day of preparation that is coming up after Passover? So when individuals tell you, well, you don't see Saturday in the Bible. Yes, you don't see Saturday in the Bible because it wasn't called Saturday. It was called Sabbath. Oh, you're using a Roman calendar. It's a placeholder. it's not to say that there were not calendars back then, because nobody can prove that they didn't have calendars back then. But as far back as we can go, and as far back as we can prove, late century BC, we see the Jews kept the Sabbath day on what they called the day of Saturn, which we'll get that in a minute too. But Christ died in the midst of the week. And the numbers just make sense. Christ died in the midst of the week. Remember, 3 days and 3 nights. He died in the midst of the week. He was buried Thursday night, which was the day before the Sabbath. Thursday night to Friday night, that's 1 day. Friday night would have been the Sabbath, because it said it was the day before the Sabbath. Friday night to Saturday night. Thursday night to Friday night, Friday night to Saturday night, Saturday night, and then going into Sunday is when he would have risen. It said he would be in the ground for 3 days and 3 nights. He was killed Thursday. He was buried as the sun went down Thursday night. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he rose Sunday. Right? So, but let's look at the further history. Go to the next slide. This is from Frontinus and Cassius Dio, right? Let me pull it up on my PowerPoint up here because I need to see it too. 1 second. Here it is. All right. So it says on the, go to the next slide, Doc. It says on the day of Saturn. So for those that don't have this information, go ahead and take a picture of it. It's very hard to actually find this book, but it has all of the source at the bottom. It's in the, let me get the exact location of this library. Where is that bad boy? Oh, that's what happened. My bad. There we go. The Loeb Classical Library is a virtual library of Greek and Latin literature that is available through Harvard University Press. Right? So, at the bottom, you see Frontinus, The Stratagems, Book 2, Chapter 1, Section 17, in the Loeb Classical Library, right? Now, let's read the actual article. Right there where it's highlighted, that's what we want to deal with. It says, Divine Augustus Vespasian attacked the Jews on the day of Saturn, on which it is forbidden for them to do anything serious, and he prevailed, right? So we see here the Jews refused to fight on the day of Saturn, also known as Saturday. Here's the crazy part. It happened a little earlier. This is from the University of Chicago. Go to the next slide. Let me zoom in a little bit. It says, this is Cassius Dio, Book 37. Most of the city, to be sure, he took without any trouble, as he was received by the party of Hyrcanus. But the temple itself, which was the other party that's talking about Herod being friends with Hyrcanus. But the temple itself, which the other party had occupied, he captured only with difficulty. Now, this is talking about the grandson of Simon Maccabee. For it was on high ground and was fortified by walls of its own. Now, this quick backstory: John Hyrcanus and his brother, his half brother, I think his name was Antigonus, right? Or it started with an A. I got to double check the name. One was a Roman sympathizer. The other one was 1,000% against Rome. Hyrcanus was friends with Herod. So Hyrcanus said, look, y'all in power, I'll let you go ahead and you can have reign of this. I already know Rome is in power. It is what it is. What ended up happening was Herod still gave Hyrcanus and the Jews their own sovereignty to a degree because they were friends. Antigonus, which was a middle finger to the Roman type of individual, he's the one that's fighting right now. He said, I'm not giving up anything to you guys, right? But watch this. It says the other party they captured with great difficulty. For it was on high ground, it was fortified by a wall of its own, and they had continued had they continued defending it on all days alike, he could not have got possession of it. So if the Jews would have kept fighting every day the same way, Rome would never have been able to get in there, right? Watch this. As it was, they, the Romans, made an excavation of what are called the days of Saturn. And by doing no work on those days, the Jews afforded the Romans an opportunity in this interval to batter down the walls. So on the day of Saturn, the Jews refused to fight. The Romans realized that. They said, well, hell, we're not going to waste our energy, our resources, and possibly our men fighting throughout the week. We're going to wait till the day of Saturn. What's another word for the day of Saturn? Saturday. We're going to wait till Saturday because they ain't fighting on Saturday. It says the latter, on learning of this superstitious awe of theirs, they made no serious attempts the rest of the time. But on those days, when they came around in succession every Saturday, assaulted most vigorously. Thus the defenders were captured on the day of Saturn. Watch this. Without making a defense. And all the wealth was plundered. The kingdom was given to Hyrcanus. Oh, Aristobulus, that was his name. And Aristobulus was carried away and taken captive. That was his half-brother. That was the grandson of Simon Maccabee. Now watch this. Go to the Maccabees. You got it?
No.
You looking for it?
No.
No, I'm saying, you got it? Okay, Con, all praises.
I was looking for it.
Now, this is very important because this happened in our history. It's First Maccabees, I think it's 1. Let's go to that real quick.
Right here, one right now.
Con, it's toward the middle of it. Yep. It's in the middle of it. I'm gonna give it to you right now. First Maccabees. Oh, I'm joking. First Maccabees 1 and 60.
1 to 60.
Let me double check. Yeah, it's a little earlier than that though. Let me find it. Hold on. Let me double check. Whosoever would not, self-same manner, that many of them were gathered unto them, forsook. I don't want that. And drove the Israelites in secret places. Yeah, that's where it starts, but I want to get straight to the point. According to the commandment, they put to death certain, they hanged, albeit many. Oh, you know what? I'm joking. It's First Maccabees 2, my bad. First Maccabees 2. And we're going to drop down to verse 34. Let me see if we want to start a little earlier. Yeah, let's start a little earlier. Fled into the mountains, both they and their children and their wives. Verse 31. We'll start at verse 31. First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 31. Read that when you got it.
You said First Maccabees?
First Maccabees.
Okay, 2 and 31.
Chapter 2, verse 31.
I got you. It's the book of First Maccabees 2 and verse 31. Now when it was told the king's servant and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness.
Read.
They pursued after them a great number.
It said a gang of the king's soldiers and servants went after the Jews that fled and hid, right? Read.
And having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day.
They wanted to war with them on the Sabbath day. Read.
And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live.
They said, all right, y'all done did enough damage. Like, either we going to kill y'all or y'all going to comply. Y'all got two choices. I would recommend y'all just comply. Make it simple, right? Read.
But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment.
Read.
To profane the Sabbath day.
We're not going to profane the Sabbath day. Read.
So then they gave them the battle with all speed.
So they was full speed ahead. They went, they going to slaughter all of the men, women, and children. Go ahead.
Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they neither cast thy a stone at them, nor stop the places where they laid hid,
It said they didn't even fight back. Read.
but said, let us die all in our
Innocency.
Man, that's crazy. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully.
Read.
So that rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
So they were in the same situation as the Jews just 100 years before them had been in. And actually, I don't even think it was that far. I'll do you a favor. Let me do this real quick. I'll tell you exactly. Let's see. Nope, yep, almost exactly 100 years. Just 100 years earlier, actually probably about 80 years. Just about 80 years earlier, John Hyrcanus II, the one we just read about in that text right there, his grandfather had brothers and sisters and friends that refused to do the exact same thing that they refused to do. It said, we are not going to go to war on the Sabbath day. 80 years later, it happened again. We're not going to war on the Sabbath day. Now, they called it the Sabbath day. They called it Saturday. So when people sit there and say, oh, it's wrong, it's like, well, the earliest records that we have says that these people were keeping the Sabbath on Saturday. So when was the Sabbath? According to the scriptures and according to the history, Saturday. Because the history and the scriptures got to connect. So the Sabbath day is on Saturday, right? Sábado. Which is Sabbath.
Oh, it's Sabbath?
Sábado? That's what Sábado means. Now.
Our people was ready to die to keep the Sabbath. Now we ready to die and don't keep
To break the Sabbath.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You could bring it back to us. So we see when the Sabbath is now, too. The Sabbath starts in the evening. The Sabbath is also what you would call Saturday. So from Friday sundown, because it starts the night before, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath. So we got let me go back over here. We got the what? What is the Sabbath? We got the why. Why do we keep the Sabbath? We got the when. When is the Sabbath? Now, how do we properly keep the Sabbath? I'll try to not go too fast here, but not have it be too long either, because there's a few different things we have to touch. So, how do we keep the Sabbath? Go to Isaiah 66 real quick. Isaiah 66 and verse 23.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 66, and verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me.
All flesh come to worship before me. So on the Sabbath day, we are to come together and worship the Lord. Not sit in your house because you don't feel like fellowshipping. Not watching TV all day because work's been hard for you all week. You are to come together and fellowship and worship the Lord. Watch this. Go to Leviticus 23. I'll show you something. Leviticus 23 and verse 1.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 1.
Come on.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy, convocations.
Holy what?
Convocations.
Convocations. Who knows what the word convocation means?
Gathering.
I was asking them, but. Gathering.
Won't happen again.
Gathering. Holy gatherings. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be gathering together to worship the Lord. It says these are the convocations. Read.
Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
In all your dwellings. The 7-day Sabbath is also a holy convocation. And as you continue to read, you'll see tabernacles, atonement, trumpets, new moons, all of that. All of those are convocations. Unless you holy convocations, unless you sick, unless you dying, unless you in jail, there's no reason you shouldn't be coming to it. Remember we did a lesson about, it is your reasonable service. There's a scripture on that in the book of Romans. It is your offer your body as a living sacrifice, for it is your reasonable service. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I had a long day. I had a long week. Work got me exhausted. I'm just not in a good space right now. Those are not excuses to say I don't want to obey what God said to do. It's not. I be hearing people, I'm just, it's Sabbath. I just want to sleep. No, it's not the Sabbath of sleep. It's the Sabbath of rest. Those are two different things. You should be edifying your soul on what it is God is instructing you to do on this day. Turn off your electronics. They say if you stand in front of and sit in front of electronics too long, it drains you anyway. Read on the paper. Read the book. Take you a nap. That's fine, but don't sleep all day. Don't sleep in till 1 in the afternoon. Don't sleep in till 2 in the afternoon. That's slothfulness. The Lord talks against that too. Use the Sabbath day for what it's used for, to spend time with the Most High. It says, gather. It is a holy convocation. Gather together. Give me Hebrews 10:25. The Lord said we are to gather together on the Sabbath. So this is what we're supposed to be doing. The question is how? How do we keep the Sabbath? Come together and worship, for it is a holy convocation. Hebrews 10:25. We're going to get one more for this.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
Read.
As the manner of some is.
Because there are some people that is like that. Read.
But exhorting one another.
Encouraging one another. Come on.
And so much the more as ye see the day approaching.
Come together. Encourage one another, because you see the day is coming. Don't be like the ones that don't like to come together. Don't be like the ones that's, don't be feeling like being around all them people. Man, my social battery be running out. Man, I don't really like people like that. I don't know how the hell you going to make it in the kingdom. Because the Lord, when you read the laws, the Lord is all about community. You don't read nowhere in here where it talks about, when you tired, just, your social battery ran out. You just isolate yourself from everybody. You know when you get isolated? When you unclean. when you get isolated? If you got leprosy. When you on your period. When you are unclean, you separate. So if you want to be separated, you need to take a look at your spirit. Your spirit might be unclean.
Yeah, and you need to have a joyful spirit.
That too. Don't come in here killing the spirit. This is a holy day.
Like, man,
the Sabbath day is supposed to be a holy day. Go ahead,
I can't wait for the sun to go down, man, so I can.
I'm hungry.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm supposed to go to the movies.
It's only one day of the week. You know what I mean? Enjoy the day. Slack and enjoy the day and be amongst your brothers and your sisters. You know what I mean? And try to get close to the Most High.
As the crazy part is, why would you so excited, or you're so looking forward to the Sabbath to be over so you can go back home and do what? So you can go hang out with your friends that's in the world and do what? You amongst everyone here got the same goal as you. Get closer to God. And you want to try to hurry up and get away from them. I had other plans. When you got the mindset of you don't want to be around, you want to be alone, you dreading the Sabbath day. Oh my God, it's such a rush. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You gotta check your spirit.
I said, only why.
So you about to say something about being guilty?
No, well, I'm saying And it's still not right. But the only time I be thinking sometimes, I be like, man, I can't wait to get something to eat. You know what I mean? Like far as some real food sometime, you know what I mean? But other than that, that's, you know.
The cold part is, I tell people this all the time. If you're busy and you're being productive, you won't even realize how hungry you are. People, you know what? A lot of people don't even eat because they're hungry. A lot of people eat because they're bored. A lot of people eat because they are sitting for so long that they realize, dang, I'm not doing nothing. And they start to notice everything. Yeah. I got a lot of energy. Ooh, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people.
But in all seriousness, we should be looking forward to coming together with the Most High. Go to Exodus 20 and 8.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Right.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord.
Read.
Thy God. And thou shalt not do any work. Thou shalt nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So it says that on the Sabbath day, you don't do no work. How do we keep the Sabbath? Don't work. Crazy part is, that's not the... Israel don't never want to do nothing during the week, but for some weird reason on the Sabbath, niggas want to do everything on the Sabbath day.
I think that's that conditioning.
Oh, it's definitely the conditioning.
You know, we've been conditioned to think that Friday and Saturday is our turn-up
That's
day.
the turn-up day.
Just to, you know, but now that we know it's just to keep us in sin.
And it's the crazy part is, even when you find that out, it still takes so long for you to break out of that and be reprogrammed.
Because everybody still be, you know, calling you and everything, you know.
Hey, if that be the case, guess what? Do not disturb. Put your phone on do not disturb.
Man, I'm saying I've been in the truth for a long time, but I still got people that'll say, my aunties or whatever, like, hey, we got something going on, and they'll try to find a way to, you know, well, come on, man, come on, y'all already know what time it is.
Hey, I pressed that line years ago. Listen, if it's on Saturday, just imagine that my phone is in the river somewhere. Just know you can't get in contact with me on Saturday. If you text me, I'll look at it Saturday night. I'm telling you now.
I answer it, but I just tell them.
I told them I told everybody in advance. I said, don't talk to me on Saturday. I'm busy the whole day. That's it. If you text me, you're going to be mad because I ain't going to text you back till Sunday.
You do that. You do that anyway.
There's a little bit of truth to that. Not completely. But the scriptures tell you on the Sabbath day, you do no work. Watch this. Deuteronomy 5 and 14. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, and verse 14.
You should have said where if you do some work, you're going to get put to death.
Well, we're going to get there. Don't worry about it.
There ain't even no games being played.
We're gonna get there.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, and verse 14. But the seventh day is the Sabbath day of the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not do any work.
You shall not do any work. There is no, now watch this. There's no working, no buying, no selling, no transactions, none of that. Watch this. Go to Nehemiah 13. And we're going to double back to what you were saying. Nehemiah 13. And we're going to read 15 through 17.
It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, and verse 15. In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which thou brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day.
It said these people were physically laboring and working on the Sabbath day. Read.
And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals.
And they did what?
Sold victuals.
And they were selling. There was transactions going on. Read.
There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem.
So they was buying, they was selling, they was working, they was treading the wine press. That's labor, right? Read on.
Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this, that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day?
Come on. Wait, it said what thing?
What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath
It
day?
said doing any of these things is profaning the Sabbath day. Read.
Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all the evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath.
Working, buying, selling, all of that is profaning the Sabbath day. You are not to do any of that on the Sabbath day. Exodus 16. Let's read Exodus 16. We'll get straight to the point. Exodus 16, verse 23.
The book of Exodus, chapter 16, and verse 23. And ye said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord.
Read.
Bake that which ye will bake
Read.
today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to keep unto the morning.
It says, whatever you have to cook, bake, boil, all of that, do it the day before the Sabbath day. So there was no cooking on the Sabbath day. Get it done on the day of preparation. Whatever you need it done, get it done on the day of preparation. There's no cooking on the Sabbath day. Jeremiah 17. I'm going to move a little quick so I don't keep y'all too long. Jeremiah 17 and verses 21 through 22.
It's the book of Jeremiah, verse 17 and verse 21. Thus said the Lord, take heed to yourselves and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. Neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day. Neither do any work, but hallow ye the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers.
Now, here's the crazy part. People, you know, we talk about, oh, can we go to the gym? Can we work out? Scriptures right here just told us you cannot bear any burdens on the Sabbath day. Some people are like, well, that's like metaphorical, like, you know, laying your burdens up. No, the hell it's not talking about that. It's talking about a physical burden, exerting too much energy, carrying something too heavy. You cannot carry these heavy things into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. You are exerting too much energy, at which point you are not resting. So people be asking, oh, can I go to the gym? Can I go on a run? Can I go? No, you can't. Up in the time of in Exodus 16, yeah. I know we're gonna double back to that in a minute. But no, it ain't supposed to be working out, but it relaxes me. No, nigga, it don't. Rest. Rest on the Sabbath. Scriptures say to rest on the Sabbath, right? John chapter 5, 9 through 10. John chapter 5.
Say verse 9 through 10.
Verses 9 through 10.
The book of John, chapter 5, and verse 9. And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. On the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, it is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed.
You should not be walking around carrying your bed, your mattress, whatever it is. They felt like that was exerting too much energy. You can't do that. And it's funny because you would think, well, duh. There's people that ask these questions, though. I've had people ask me, yeah, you know, I ain't getting paid or nothing for it, but my boy need help, you know, moving. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but it's on Saturday. Well, then no. Well, I mean, like, he ain't paying me or nothing for it. I'm just no. The scriptures tell you to rest. Well, I mean, it's not nothing crazy. Like, the scriptures tell you don't bear any burdens on the Sabbath day. And they're very specific as to what a burden is. It's telling you not to exert too much energy on the Sabbath day.
It says don't do no work. Moving is work.
But see, here's the thing. People argue with you and say, no, it's only work if you get paid.
No.
Hey, depending on who you talk to.
That's being simple.
But watch this. That's why you got to be able to cover every avenue. Okay, let's say it ain't work. You still bearing a burden. Now what? No, you can't help move that couch. No, you can't help him move the refrigerator. No, you can't build that bed with him. No, you can't build that backyard shed that he wanted. No, none of that. I'm just helping him as a friend. It don't matter. You're breaking the Sabbath. You can't do it. People refuse to, think about this. People refuse to go to war to save their lives on the Sabbath. That's how serious they understood it to be. But they didn't understand the concept that Christ brought in later. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. You're saving your lives and you're saving others' lives. They thought going to war is exerting too much energy. So I'm not going to do it.
They was about that life.
Yeah. They was like, take us. I'm not going to break this law. Man. Take us.
Man, that was that real fear of the Most High.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was a number that people was willing to die to not eat swine, not sacrifice to I. They said, kill us.
Remember
skin us alive.
Sister with the son.
Son was skinned alive. Literally, his skin was cut off first. Tongue was taken out. Another one.
She fried him and everything.
Yeah, there was fried right. The son was fried right in front of him, in front of the mama and the other brothers.
She killed what, 7 of her sons?
All 7 of them, and then she was last.
Yeah, and she still. They was always like
the fear of the Most High was a different ball game back then. And I'll reference these scriptures. You guys go read them. Matthew 12, 10 through 12, where Christ said it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath. John 7 and 22, also is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Luke 13, 14 through 16, if a person is suffering, you can treat them on the Sabbath. And then Luke 14, 1 through 6, is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. So, you're not supposed to work. You're not supposed to buy. You're not supposed to sell. You can't bear any burdens. You can't exert too much energy. No, you can't go to the gym. You can't help your boy move, even if it's for the free and it's a favor, and that's the only day that they had available. That is a them problem. Again, do you fear the Most High, or do you fear making your friend upset? Like, at some point, we got to make a decision. And come to, real quick, and come together and worship. Those are the mandates of the Sabbath. Go ahead, Ak, what'd you have?
No, I was just saying, if you're not correcting your brother that's trying to do it, you suffering sin on him anyway.
So you still breaking the law. That's something you need to check. Now let's get this last piece, Exodus 31. Let's go back to this. What is the penalty for violating? Because some people, it's crazy because some, man, we in captivity, or man, the Most High have mercy. Not if you have not exhausted every possible way to make sure that you don't have to do certain things. If you just say, well, if your job say, hey, we need you to come in on Saturday. Oh, well, we are in captivity. I guess I'm just going to do it. You didn't fight. You didn't try. You did nothing. You just rolled over. No, you still willfully sinned. And it's so crazy because people are like, well, what you want me to do? You want me to not get paid? People were dying. Not just dying, people were being tortured to obey God. The woman with the 7 sons, one of them got scalped and then skinned alive. The other one got his members cut off. Cut his arm off first, cut his other arm off, cut it. And while there ain't no drugs, he wasn't sedated, cut him up. Another one, they cut out his tongue. Another one got cooked in front of them, put on a damn skillet and cooked. They were smelling burning flesh, human flesh. Moms watched every single son be tortured. And the very last son, the servants were sitting there pleading with her, like, man, just tell your son to try it. Just tell your son, you want your son to die? This your last son. She walked over to her son and said, die manfully. Man, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Die manfully. And after the last son, she died because they were unwilling to break God's law. People be petrified talking about, well, they're gonna write me up. Well, I'm not gonna get paid that day. Well, they're gonna start making it harder for me at work. We ought to obey. I'm gonna give it to you right now. We ought to obey God rather than men. People can't be people. You can't half-step in this walk. You got to be, like, we talk about it all the time. You have to be willing to die for this truth. Because the Lord's going to put you to the test one day. And it be something as small as your spouse going to leave you. I'm tired of this Sabbath thing you're doing. I'm tired of this, you dressing funny now. I'm tired of this, I want to eat this, and this. It's going to be your job. look, we need you to work on this day. If you can't work on this day, we're going to let you go. It could be your other family members. Oh, it's not the same. You don't come to Christmas no more. You don't do this. You don't do that. Most High going to test you. The severity of these laws is not a game. Give me that Exodus 33. This is the penalty. Or was it 32? Excuse me. 31. My bad. 31 and... Start at 13. We're going to read down to 14.
Start at 13?
Yep.
This is Exodus 31 and 13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you.
Read on.
Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death.
Shall be what?
Surely be put to death.
If you breaking the Sabbath willfully, it was so serious, the Lord said, if you violate, you die. It's not a joke. It's not a game. The Lord said, if you disrespect me and disregard me, if you violate, you die. Read.
For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people.
Then it was another, because here's the things, there's certain laws that you will die for or you be cut off from your people. So depending on the circumstance, right? Here's the crazy part. People think they done got mercy being cut off from their people. Go and look at those old Yashimai show. What movie was it? I think it was The Gods of Egypt, I think it was. There was a scene in there where this man was cut off from his people. And in that time, that was such a big thing, because if you was dolo and you got caught lacking by the I don't remember what you call them, but they were basically pirates on the ground, you would get kidnapped. They would take advantage of you. They would sell you into slavery. They would force you into slavery. It was much worse than being put to death, because now you're being tortured. Now you're living as a slave. And it wasn't nothing you could do, because then they might kill you, or they might, like how they would do us in America, they might cut your hands off, they might cut your feet off, or whatever the case is. You will be ostracized from your people and say, go fend for yourself. If you violate God's laws, that's what they was doing. That soul will be cut off, or that person will be put to death. But we want to play with God like it's a game. Read on, verse 15.
6 days may work be done, but in the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest.
Read.
Holy to the Lord.
Come on.
Whosoever doeth any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
You shall surely be put to death. Last verse, 16.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations.
How long?
For a perpetual covenant.
What does perpetual mean? I know. Go ahead, what's perpetual?
Forever.
Forever, recurring, revolving, over and
Never ending.
over and over, never ending. That's what a perpetual, a forever renewing covenant. That's how long we should be keeping the Sabbath day. So again, the Sabbath. What is the Sabbath? The Sabbath is a day in which the Lord gave us that was set apart for us to spend time with him. It is also a commemoration of when he first rested on the seventh day after all of his creation. Why do we keep the Sabbath? Same reasons. To commemorate what the Lord did for us, to commemorate, what the Lord did in the beginning, and because it was a commandment, and for us to come together and worship him. What, why, when? We went over the when, sundown to sundown, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, and we know that it is Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. It is Saturday. We have historical proof, historical references of that. And how do we keep it? We come together and we worship. We don't work, don't buy, don't sell, don't bear any burdens, no cooking. We literally rest. We come together, we worship the Lord, and when we're at home, before we come together, we should still be spending time with the Lord, whether it's reading, praying, meditating, whatever it is, spending time with God, not watching TV, not being distracted, not on the phone with the homies talking about nothing, not playing video games the whole day. That is not what the Sabbath is for. The Sabbath is something that was set aside specifically for the Lord. The Sabbath was something that was set aside specifically to bring you closer to God. You don't have all that time to do it, so the Lord said, I'm going to give you, just give me one day. Just one. 6 days, I know you got a lot going on. Give me this one. That's what we got to make sure that we doing. Don't play like you know God and you ain't giving God no time. Don't play like you know God and you ain't obeying what he told you to do. The scriptures say anybody that says that I know God and is not obeying his commandments is a liar.
And the truth,
if you truly love God, if you truly want to follow God, if you truly believe in God, keep his Sabbaths and keep his commandments. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. We got many more Torah lessons coming. Like I said, we're just going to take a journey through the Torah, gain some understanding on all of the various laws in the Torah. This week it was through Torah, the Sabbath. What, why, when, and how. Y'all make sure to tune in tomorrow. Bishop Yazaquel out in Georgia at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, War for the Kingdom. Bishop Tazayawan is going to close it out like he always does with the phenomenal class and Feed the Sheep. Y'all make sure to tune into our classes during the week. Every Monday we have our Spanish class. Every first Monday we have our Bible Q&A. Every Tuesday we have Bible Basics. Every Wednesday we have World History According to the Bible. Every second and fourth Thursday we have Stick to the Script. We got daily bread for you just about every day. Make sure you sharing the classes so other people can get this edification. Make sure you like and subscribe because that's what keeps the algorithm going to keep us out there so the people can continue to see, because you know how YouTube do. They banning, they shadow banning, and they closing down accounts for people who are teaching the truth. So it helps when our people are actually sharing it manually. So all praise to the Most High God. We appreciate y'all, Israel. We love y'all. Most High willing, we're going to see y'all again next week. Lord willing, we do catch y'all on here tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom, family.